Okay, I think I'm live now. Okay, that's brilliant. Hello and welcome to the online launch for my new book and my first novel, Erosion. Here's the cover. As you can see, it's officially published by Moon Books today. That's the 26th of April 2024 if you're watching this live. If you're viewing a recording, you might be viewing later, of course, and this talk will be available to rewatch whenever you like. Oh, hello Becky. Thanks for joining me. Now, I'm going to begin by talking about the background behind the book. And I'm going to read a short bit from it, don't worry, I'm not going to read too much. And then I'll answer questions. And if you have a question, you can pop them in the chat and hopefully I'll be able to see them. So, the full title of my novel, again, there it is again. You might not be able to see the small print, but it's Erosion of Friendship, Dreams and the Edge of a Cliff. And it's Gothic in genre. And it's set on the Kent coast in the year 1987. Oh, hello, I see we've got more people joining me. Hello, that's great. Lovely to see people joining. Around the time of the Great Storm. I lived on the Kent coast in the 1980s. So some of the setting and the other elements are based on my own memories. But why did I write it? Well, I'd always wanted to write a novel. And in that respect, there's quite a bit of me in the main character of Erosion, Alice, who's the first person narrator in the book. And in it, she is writing about her own memories many years after the events happened. Now, I should probably add that although Alice and her friends find some old bones buried on the edge of a crumbling cliff, and decide to do a seance to contact their spirit. That is fiction. That is not anything that I did. It is fiction. So, while Erosion is my first novel, oh, hello Luna, I'm just seeing some more people joining, and that's absolutely lovely. Thank you very much, everyone who's joining, and if you're watching this later, thank you very much. So yeah, Erosion is my first novel, but it's not my first published book. I've written quite a few practical magic titles in Moon Books' Pagan Portal series. So the shameless plug for my other books. There's Poppets and Magical Dolls, Rounding the Wheel of the Year, that came out last year. Candle Magic, now that was my first Pagan Portals book, and still one of my favourites. Guided visualizations and scrying, which is one of the things I teach workshops on quite often. So yeah, lots of practical magic titles. Why did I switch to fiction? Well, it was during the pandemic, during the lockdowns, and I was getting, like a lot of us, I was getting pretty bored staring at the walls inside my house, and I think a lot of us were. I think a lot of us were getting very bored. I'd already done oodles of crafting to pass the time, including teaching myself to crochet and making a blanket. But I wanted to do something different in the last really long lockdown, which really seemed to drag. And I decided to fulfill a long-held dream and write a novel. I didn't even really think whether it was going to get published then. I just wanted to write a novel. I chose the setting of the Kent coast and the plot that included a group of friends, largely because I was missing getting out to the coast. I was missing having holidays by the sea, and I was missing seeing friends. I was really missing meeting up with friends. I think we all were. So I wrote this book about being by the coast, spending a long summer by the coast with friends. And I think there was it allowed me to escape, really. I think every morning I would sit there and write for a few hours and escape in my imagination to a time when things were perhaps a bit of a bit of rosy tinted glasses on memories and escaping to a past where there wasn't a pandemic and you could meet up with friends and you could go on holiday. So I set it in the past, as I said, because it was a time before a lot of social restrictions that we had in the pandemic, and at the time we didn't know quite what the future was going to hold. I think some of us were wondering, will we always have to wear a mask when we went out? And so I wrote it I set it in the past, and I'm actually quite happy about that. I think the year that I set, the year of 1987, the year of the Great Storm, was a really interesting one. It is a Gothic novel, so it isn't all about having fun on the beach with mates. It's a bit spooky. It isn't outright horror either. I know the book is in the horror classification, but I call it Gothic rather than horror, because what happens is kind of eerie and mysterious. There's magic, there's seances, there's strange things that happen. It's a creepy ghost story rather than, it's not full of monsters and shocks and gore. Alice herself in the this I'm going to read describes what she is writing. Well, she's the narrator, as I said, and she describes it as a horror story. I would say Alice is a slightly unreliable narrator, and I wrote her that way on purpose. I hope people like her, but remember, she is also writing a work of fiction, a novel within a novel. She is writing the book she always wanted to write, as I wrote the book that I wanted to write. Hello, I've seen lots more people joining. Hello Sheena, hello Maria, hello Jane. I hope there isn't anyone I've missed there who's joining. It's lovely to see people. Anyway, I'm going to read a little bit from my book. I'm going to read the prologue, and it's not that long, so don't worry. It's called Always. Actually, something else I'll mention is that all the titles of the chapters in the novel are songs from that era. So you might spot some. It's got a bit of a playlist there. Always. It began when we found the bones. Or did it? Perhaps it really began before then. So I'll go back further. Wind back through that summer to June 1987. I was 21. Had just left university with my degree in literature, and I was going to write a book. Something great and worthy. Not some trashy thing like a horror novel full of daft cliffhangers intended to be a page turner where a bunch of people do something really, really foolish and end up broken. But I was young and I knew less than I thought I did. And that great work was never written. At least, not then. Now, with time and perhaps more experience, I'm typing these words. I'm remembering the past, prompted by a picture on the wall of a beach scene and an old song on the radio. And those are memories that I want to keep. It is a horror story, although at first it might not seem in any way horrific. To start with, I guess it's a tale of young people spending a glorious golden summer at the coast. But that ended. Many of the things that happened still haunt my dreams, and I've decided to write them down at last, as well as I can remember. So I'm going to make a pot of tea, put on a playlist from that year, the year of the Great Storm, and start typing about when I first met Joe. Actually, the beach scene, I thought I'm going to also mention the beach scene on the cover of my book. Now, this was painted by the Kent artist Sue Jolly, who does some amazing beach scenes. As I was writing my book, I saw Sue posting up pictures she was painting of Kent beach scenes, and I said, she's a friend of mine, and I said, please will you paint the cover for my book? And I think she's done a great job. I'm really pleased with it. Another person that I want to thank is Ben Aronovich, author of the Rivers of London series of books. He endorsed Erosion, and you know, I plucked up courage to ask him, and he very kindly read it and wrote the endorsement that appears at the top. He described it as an elegant tale of memory, growth and regret, set along the crumbling coast of 1980s Kent. So yeah, I was dead chuffed to get that endorsement, and thanks very much to Ben. And I want to thank the people who encouraged me to write the novel and who proofread it for me along the way. A lot of my friends proofread it and gave feedback, and that was really useful. I mean, there were quite a few changes I made and chapters that got added and bits that got cut out. And I know that taking a bit of criticism, it can be quite tough when you've written something and you're really proud of it, and someone says, you know, that really does go on a bit too long. You've got to cut it right back. So hopefully I've got the balance right, because without people saying that kind of thing, I think I think most books would end up having stuff that should perhaps go. So I was really happy with all the feedback I got, even though perhaps at the time I was a bit grumpy about it. So apologies to those proofreaders who I was grumpy at, and thank you very much for telling me those things. Now, finally, I want to thank Trevor Greenfield, the editor at Moon Books. He's always been so encouraging, really right from when I wrote Candle Magic. I was working as a proofreader for Moon Books, and I proposed my first Pagan Portals title, Candle Magic, and he accepted me, even though I hadn't written any full-length books before. I'd done some other writing, but not full-length books, and he accepted me and gave me a chance, and Candle Magic became a bestseller, which I'm delighted with. And then when I submitted my novel, I was thinking, well, you know, it's a bit of a switch from what I normally write, but he read it and he said, yeah, we'll give it a go. And so thank you to Trevor. And thank you very much for saying it's a glorious cover. Yeah, it is a glorious cover. I'm really happy to answer questions, and I've been asked a couple of questions already, and I'm going to answer them. The one that I always get asked is, where can people get my book? Well, I'd love people to buy my book. You can get it in kind of most places where you would get books. So you can order it online from the usual large online sellers of books. You can order copies via my publisher, which is part of Collective Ink. I think it's collectiveink.com, and you will find my book there. You can, if you're in London, you can pop into Treadwell's bookshop at 33 Store Street, Bloomsbury, where I know that they do still have a few signed copies. I did an early pre-launch book signing a couple of weeks ago, so they've still got some copies. Most bookshops will easily be able to order it in for you. So I know a lot of people like to order from independent shops rather than great big chains. So if you ask your local bookshop to order in a copy for you, they can. That's absolutely fine. I am happy for you to buy the book wherever you want to buy it. I will get royalties wherever you buy the book. I will get some royalties from it, which is really nice. And I've been asked if they are available as ebooks. Yes, they are. You can obviously get it for Kindle via Amazon. And if you go onto the Collective Ink website, there are various other types of ebook that you can order there, including the EPUB version. Okay, let's see if there are any questions. Does anyone have any questions about it? Oh, I love the colour of my hair. Thank you. It's, I'm afraid, Superdrug's own brand hair dye. Yeah, nothing very posh. Okay. Well, it doesn't look as though there are any questions. If you've got any questions, you can always look at my Facebook page, which you probably know if you are watching this on Facebook. Oh, okay. I'm curious to know how much the landscape plays a role in your story. Yes, a lot, a lot. Um, the it is Gothic, and Gothic novels often have landscape as being quite important. So um, the action, there's a lot of action that happens on beaches. Um, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there's a secret beach that some of the characters go to and do magic, and things happen on the beach which are quite important for the plot. The tide coming in and storms on the beach are quite important. And there's a lot of action also happens up on the top of a cliff. One of the characters lives in a strange little cottage right on the edge of an eroding cliff, one that is probably going to fall into the sea sometime, and she's kind of living there, but the council's trying to get her to move out because it's not safe. There's woods on the top of the cliff in between the cottage and a campsite, which is also one of the locations, and so there's quite a bit of things happening in the woods, and so yeah, it's I hope that I've described the landscape in suitable ways, sometimes being glorious and sometimes being quite scary. Will I be writing more novels? I've half written a second novel. I started writing it for a Nano a couple of years ago. I want to get back into it again. But I will be honest, when I wrote Nano is quite a, you try to write the first draft of a novel in a month, and it's not my favourite way of working. I'm quite a slow writer normally. I normally don't want to write more than about 500 words a day, and I was churning out 2, 3, 4,000 words a day for Nano, and I wasn't really particular. There were some bits in the second novel I'm very happy with. There are other bits that you know, I talk about things going on too long. There are some bits that go on too long. I'm hoping that this year I will have time to get back into it again and edit it. It's another Gothic story. It's actually set in southeast London, around the area of Crystal Palace, in a big old house on the edge of Crystal Palace Park that has a lot of history and possibly some ghosts. Did I have any friends in mind when I wrote the characters? None of the characters are specifically people I know. There's no one specifically based on people I know. But I think that when you do write a book and you try to create vivid characters, you can't help but being influenced. The group of friends that I described in the book all have some elements of friends that I've had who I've been really fond of for various reasons, and so yeah, people might recognise little bits of them. I hope friends recognise little bits of themselves that they like in the group of friends. They're a slightly odd bunch, but then of course, you know, I think I think all of my friends are a little bit weird. I'm a bit weird. I don't mean that in a bad way. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much, saying you can't wait to read it. Okay. I don't think there are any more questions. So thank you all so much for joining me. And yeah, before I say goodbye, I want to thank everyone who tuned in live and everyone who's watching the recording. If you do like my books, then please leave a review. All authors really appreciate reviews. This recording will stay here so people can watch it later, and I'll put it on my YouTube channel. Oh, thank you for wishing me good luck. That's yeah, I'm hoping it is successful. You never know, do you? You never. I did see one review had gone up today on Amazon. It was 5 stars, so that was good. And thank you very much. So I'm going to say have a wonderful rest of your day. And have a wonderful summer. And if you do go to the coast, I hope you have an exciting time, but nothing too spooky happens. Okay. Bye.